Hey, and welcome to this lesson on power chords, which are just very basic chords that you can play with two fingers, but don't underestimate them because obviously power chords are used throughout rock and metal music and sound very, very effective indeed. But for us, very easy to play or very simple to play, very straightforward, doesn't mean easy necessarily. So, they are by far the most common chord that you're going to encounter playing rock and metal styles of music. You might also hear them being referred to as fifth chords, and that's because a power chord is made up of a root note and a fifth above. So, for example, if you're playing an E power chord, note number one would be E, which is the root, and then you'd have F, G, A, B above. So you're playing the root, which is an E, and the fifth, which is a B. So for example, if I'm playing a open E power chord, I've got the open E string, and then I'm going to put my finger on the second fret on the A string and play the B note, which gives us our fifth. And as you can hear when you play them together, you get this really cool meaty sound. So same thing applies if I were to play an A power chord. I'd start on the A string, I'd use exactly the same shape. So that's going to be the second fret on the D. And the same on the D string as well. So if I have an open D string, it'd be the second fret on the G. And that would give me a D power chord. So a quick recap on that, we've got an E power chord, an A power chord, and a D power chord. Now, of course, I could play these E's, A's, and D's in different places. So if you know your notes on the bottom two strings, on the E and the A string, you'll be able to essentially play any power chord anywhere. So if I want to play an E power chord somewhere else, I could go all the way up to the 12th fret on the E string, because that's the same note, right? It's a bit fiddly. So I'm going to locate the E note on the 7th fret on the A string, and the shape that we'll use is this. So you're on the adjacent string with another finger, and so I'll be playing the 7th fret and the 9th fret here. If I want to play, let's say, a D power chord, I can move that shape down 2 frets to the D note, so 5th fret, same shape. If I want to play a C power chord, move it down another 2 frets. If I want to play a B power chord, just move it down 1 fret. No such note as B sharp. So there we have it. And of course the same applies on the E string as well. So if I play the 7th fret on the E string, which is our B note, you will have a B power chord or a B5 chord. Same on this note here, 5th fret is the A note, so we've got an A power chord, same as this, just a different way of playing it. G power chord here. So take some time to familiarise yourself with the notes on the E and the A string. Obviously this is where all your chords and scales are formed from, so being fluent in those notes is pretty important. And so when you're playing these power chords, again, just sort of say to yourself what the name of the note is and what the name of the chord is. So if you're playing here, for example, it's going to be an E5, D5, C5, B5, G5, A. A couple of different ways of playing that. There's another B power chord here, 7th fret, E. And just kind of test yourself to find the right note. So most of the time you're always going to use this shape unless your guitar's tuned differently for some reason, such as if you in the drop D tuning, you would fret these power chords slightly differently. But if you're in a standard tuning, that's the shape you're going to use. So people have asked me about like, oh, which fingers should I use? Well, I mean, it's entirely up to you. Traditionally, you know, playing properly, you should use one finger per fret. So for example, if you're playing this chord, play that again. you would have your index finger and your ring finger to play the power chords. Now, I don't do that. Millions of metal guys and rock players don't do that either. A lot of us use our little finger. Don't know why. It's just something that I've always done, and I see a lot of guys doing it. They don't seem to have any problem with that. The exception to that, I would say, is if you decide to put the root note on top of the chord as well. So what I mean by that is, let's just take this note here again. So we've got E, and then we've got the B on top, which is our fifth. Now, what you could do is add another E note in, so that would be the 9th fret on the G string. That gives you this shape, so you're playing with 3 fingers. So, can you hear the difference there? So this sounds, in my opinion, like way tighter and punchier versus this. So they're not wrong, they're just different. So you could, of course, just use one finger. You could use your ring finger and just bar, do a mini bar on those 2 strings. Or you can use 3 fingers. You can use index, ring, pinky. But it depends what type of sound you're going for. So that's the only variation that we're going to look at on that power chord shape. So you've got the open position, power chords here. And you have fretted power chords as well. Get riffing.